Oh, it says we're live. So I guess we're just going to be live on my page. And I'll try to share it with you ladies on Facebook.
Perfect.
So, welcome everyone. If you just give us a minute to get ourselves together with our technology, that would be helpful. So, that's I see that one person is watching, but I'm still not seeing it live on my Facebook page.
I
Oh,
see
here.
it live on your page.
Okay, now I see it. Okay, let me share it. I'm gonna share it. Okay, so I can share it in the group, um, even though I'm not live in the group. And then I'll share it with you both. I don't know if I'm able. Okay. Okay, just shared it with you both. Okay. Good evening. Thank you all for bearing with us as we got our technology together. My name is Attorney Kiana Chanel, and I am a business and civil rights attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm joined with Miss Lauren Ballard and Miss Kanisha. Say your last name again for me, Kanisha. Oh, you're on.
You're on mute.
Whoops, sorry about that. My name is Kanisha Hubbard.
Hubbard, that's right. Okay, and Miss Kanisha Hubbard. So we're just going to introduce ourselves and then we're just going to hop in. We came together probably about, was it a month ago, ladies? 2 months ago? And we all come from different walks of life in terms of our business, but we're all about making money and having sustainable businesses. So a lot of our clients, we noticed that they kind of overlap in the services that we need. So we decided, hey, why not come together and offer services collectively to the extent that it makes sense for the client. So here we are today. This is our first official event, so I'm really excited. If y'all see me go on mute real quick, it's because my kids walked in. So I just make that caveat in the beginning. So again, my name is Kiana Chanel, and I am a business and civil rights attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. On the business side of my practice, I help new and emerging entrepreneurs form businesses, reform businesses, make modifications. I also help with complex business formation. So I help with partnerships and joint ventures. You think it, I can put it together more than likely. I also specialize in contract drafting as well as business litigation. So if a business is being sued or they need to sue someone else, then I also assist with that. And then on the civil rights side, I help people, I advocate for people whose rights have been violated by government actors, including the police. And that's usually litigation. So that means we're in court. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm just going to go down the line. Do you want to go next, Lauren?
Sure. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Ballard. I am a licensed CPA, started my career at Deloitte many moons ago, and excited to be here. I own an accounting firm called the Discipling CPA, serving clients remotely, but also here in Atlanta, offering services like bookkeeping, tax preparation, tax planning, but also offer some business strategy and consulting as well for clients. I'm super passionate about education, but also really, really passionate about working with sustainable businesses, eco-friendly businesses, businesses that have a deeper purpose. And so really moving my firm in that direction, also launching a consultancy called TDC Impact Advisors. So I'm excited to just share a little bit with you all this evening, and look forward to more events.
Am I up next?
Okay, yes, I was trying to get to the unmute button. Go ahead, Kanisha.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kenesha Hubbard. I am a financial planner. I work with the Piedmont Group. We're based here in Atlanta, Georgia. But of course, we've got clients all over the country. I partnered with these beautiful young ladies. So, just kind of piggybacking off of what they said, we just really kind of wanted to make sure that you guys had all the tools that you needed, specifically, tonight really focusing, on our business owners. Me personally, my practice, I specialize in financial planning. So from a personal perspective, everything from wealth management, estate planning, just your personal financial position, risk management, and stuff like that. And I harp on it all the time, and you'll hear me say it all the time. Just making sure that the same things that you have in place, for your personal finance, those are basically the same principles that you would have in place for business. And so we work a lot with business leaders, especially a lot of small business owners here in the city and in the state, around the area, to make sure everybody's prepared. I sit down and meet with clients on a regular basis. And I'm just really excited to work with Kiana and Lauren to make sure that we get you guys squared away. So thank you guys so much for having me, and I hope you guys get a lot out of this today.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. I've been advertising this as just a way to kind of get recession ready, right? And not that I'm speaking recession over any one of us or any of our clients, but we know that's kind of been in the wind in our government. So let's talk a little bit about what a recession is. And so I just pulled up the definition. So in the United States, at least, a recession is defined as 2 back-to-back quarters of declining gross domestic product. And so I don't think we've quite reached 2 back-to-back quarters of declining GDP, but there's talks that we may get there. And so that's why, there's kind of just been this curiosity around recession and what it looks like going forward, and just people just wanting to be prepared. And I think as business owners, it's important for us to be wise, right? Not that we speak calamity over ourselves or our businesses, but we still live in the United States, right? So what happens in the United States impact us. So I think it's wise not to bury our head in the sand and be like, well, they're not talking about me, but actually to assess the times that we're in and pivot, as we see fit. So I really wanted to talk a little bit tonight about how we can, I don't want to say recession proof, but how we could prepare in a recession, how we could be wise in terms of recession with our business. And I'm reminded of a Bible story, right? Joseph, he knew that a recession was coming, and so he prepared for the recession by storing up grain for 7 years. And after those 7 years of plenty, there were 7 years of lack. But when those 7 years of lack came, there was no lack in his land because he had prepared for those 7 years. And so when we look at that strategy, right, we can apply that right now. Maybe you aren't in a lack. Maybe this is a plenteous time for you. Well, this will be the time to save, to make wise investments, to scale, so that if lack ever does hit your house, that it really won't be lack for you, right? It might be lack around you, but it won't be lack for you. So I think that's all of our goals. So I wanted each of us to kind of give 3 to 4 tips to kind of make ourselves recession ready or recession proof our businesses. And I guess I'll go first. I don't know why only half of me is showing on the screen. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, I don't know. My kids come and play with my camera all the time. So, okay. So legal wise, one thing you can do to kind of get recession ready is to even make sure that you have legal structure in place. So when we have times of recession, we have people sometimes looking for ways to cut corners, right? And so the IRS knows this. And so you can expect that audits may go up during the time of the recession because they may expect that people are wanting to hide assets. And so this is a time to really get squared up with your legal structure. If you have been operating as a sole proprietor or without any type of legal structure, you want to definitely get your legalities in place just in case you do get audited, or just in case you do get sued, God forbid. This during a recession, people also look for different ways to make money, right? So if I get hit in the back in the car during when it's not a recession, right? When times are plenty, I'm like, oh, I'm fine. But during a recession, I might be like, my neck, my back, you know what I mean? And so the same thing goes with your business. Things that people might let slide, you know, when they have the money, they may not let it slide. They may be litigious. You know, that's what we call it in the legal field. People are litigious. So they're looking to sue, they're looking for a claim. And so you just want to be wise about that. So that's another reason why you want to have your legal structure in place. You also want to have your contracts in place, right? Times of recession may be when people breach on their contracts, unfortunately. So if you never have a contract in place to start with, you're more likely to get breached upon, right? But at least if you have something in place, there's something that says, hey, you're not allowed to do this. This is my boundary. And a contract is nothing more than a written boundary that really outlines the relationship between two parties. So if you have that boundary in place, you're more likely to have someone to adhere to that boundary. But if you don't have anything in place, then you may find yourself on the short end of the stick. So you definitely want to have your contracts in place if there's going to be a recession. And then lastly, I'll say branding. You know, make sure you're being consistent with your brand. And I know sometimes people pivot, right? People pivot sometimes during a recession, and they may want to sell different things, which is wise. But you want to be consistent with your brand, right? So Apple, they have a certain brand. Like you're never going to see Apple come out with like Cheerios or something, you know, something similar to that. They're always going to be a high tech company with new and trendy ideas. So I think whatever your brand is, even if you pivot and find that you have to offer different services or different products, just being consistent with your brand, and just realize that this time is not going to last forever. You know, this time will pass. So I think that's what I will offer up. And with that, I guess I'll pass it on to Lauren. We can stay in that order.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, Kiana. I know that there's some things that I need to make sure I've got in order, particularly around the branding component, especially as I mentioned, wanting to start this new consultancy, right? So what I have put together for this evening is I want to call it the 4 moves so that you can be positioned for growth. So I know a lot of times when we think about recession, we think shrinking, we think pulling back, we think cutting resources. But in reality, and I think that we've seen that when we look at what happened with COVID, when we think about the Great Recession in the mid 2000s, we can say it that way, there were still people making money, right? While others were retreating, there were others moving forward. While others were looking at the landscape from a lack mindset, there was others who were looking at it from an abundance and opportunity perspective. And so we want to look at a potential recession as an opportunity for us to pivot, for us to realign, for us to refocus and trim the fat from our businesses so that we can come out of recession being a lean, mean, focused machine and be able to dominate in the marketplace, and not from an aggressive standpoint, but really just positioning ourselves as leaders in the marketplace in our respective fields. And so there's 4 moves that I would say every single entrepreneur, and I want to go a step further and say business owner, because a lot of people nowadays are saying that they're entrepreneurs, but a business owner is moving very, very differently than an entrepreneur who just got their LLC and hasn't really thought through this long-term strategy and focus for their business. And I think all of these ladies can kind of attest to the difference in a serious business owner versus a dabbling entrepreneur, right? And so the 4 moves that I'm going to talk about are critical for serious business owners to make in order for them to move forward, not just in a recession, but outside of a recession. And so, number one is defining your purpose. I know that this is going to sound kind of touchy feely, especially coming from a CPA, but it's so critical. And the reason why is that clarity of purpose is the foundation to your decision making. When I come into a business, I'm concerned about what is the rationale behind the decisions that you make from a financial perspective. And if you're making decisions willy nilly all over the place because you feel like it, that's not helpful for sustained growth. And so defining your purpose, defining your perspective is imperative in order for you to make the decisions that are imp- the most important for your business, right? It is useful to determine the types of and evaluating the types of business relationships that you will make, the type of clients that you will bring into your business, the type of partnership opportunities that you look for. Purpose is the foundation, right? I think about one of the things that I love about the Bible. I'm a Christian, and so I always bring this up every once in a while. But one of the things that I love about the Bible and the idea of the creation story, the creation account in Genesis, is that the fact that God laid a foundation before he filled it. And so when we think about purpose, when we think about the end from the beginning, that is literally how we have to build our businesses. And so I emphasize defining your purpose, getting clear and being able to articulate it in a way that makes sense to your stakeholders. And when I say stakeholders, I mean your employees, I mean your customers and clients, business partners, marketplace, whoever is encountering your business and has an opportunity to touch and feel your business, they need to understand why you do what you do. So that is move number one, define your purpose. Move number two is establish processes. I can't tell you how many times I have gone to establish businesses and they don't have a financial process in place. They don't have proper documentation, whether it's legal. They don't have proper documentation around 401k planning. Kenesha will touch on that. Employee benefits. All of these things are imperative. And so if you do not have established processes, you are going to notice that you are bleeding money in imperceptible ways. Why? Because you have inefficiencies. You have people who are ill-equipped for the positions that they're in. That may be you. I know for me that I'm starting to fire myself from different positions in my business because I realize that I'm the bottleneck. I cannot continue to be the bottleneck in my business if I want it to grow to the next level. And so establishing processes, get it out of your head, get it on paper, document it, and hand it off to the person who is equipped for that is imperative and is going to help you significantly increase your profitability as well as increase your top line, that revenue number. So that's number two. That's move number two. So the first move was define your purpose. The second move is establish processes. The third move is position people. So you cannot position people, you cannot deploy people if you do not know what you're doing and you do not know how you're doing it, right? And so once you have defined your purpose, once you have clearly articulated your process, and again, this is not just touchy-feely, this is real life, has an impact on your bottom line. This is so important. Then you can now position people. That is going to help with turnover. A lot of people are clear. They know it's all over the news about the Great Recession, the Great Resignation, and how people are struggling to find quality talent. They're struggling to keep their employees. Why? It is likely because they don't have clear processes, so it's chaotic at work. Their employees are not happy. It's likely that they are not clear on the vision or the purpose. And so people do not feel connected to the organizations that they work in. If you are disconnected and it is unclear how you're supposed to do your job, how you're going to be evaluated, then people are going to leave, point blank, period. And when they leave, then you have the cost of turnover, you have the cost of hiring, if you have to pay commissions to recruiters, all of those things are going to impact your bottom line. And then what happens if you do not plug this hole, right? You have to continue to do that year over year over year. And in a time of recession, the last thing you want to do is trying to hire people. That is not a cost that you want to take on. You want to be able to retain the people that you have, maintain a nimble team before trying to now build out a team that's very, very challenging. And so the last move then is monitor performance. So once we have been clear on our purpose, we have defined our processes, we have employed and deployed the people that we need to fulfill our purpose and our processes. Now we need to monitor that performance, and that is creating key performance indicators, our KPIs. They can be financial KPIs, they can be for performance KPIs, they can be quality of life KPIs, but you will now leverage the things that we've talked about in the previous 3 moves to determine the KPIs that make sense for your business. And as you continue to monitor, then you can now say, you know what, I think we need to refine here. Always, even if you have these soft measurables, these soft metrics, you always need to have financial metrics, because it does not matter if everybody feels good and they're loving their lives, but you can't pay them. We have to make sure that we are profitable. And so I want to just kind of circle back to that. And so just to kind of wrap this up, why is this important? And I think I've already kind of emphasized this, but I want to give you 5 reasons. Number 1, if you do not have these things identified, you face the risk of burnout. There is a potential for a lack of product market fit. So you're doing things and you don't really know why you're doing them. You're not really aligned with the people that you're saying that you're trying to serve. They don't really get what you're trying to do. That is going to impact your bottom line. You have runaway costs because of inefficiencies, because you don't have a clear message to market. You are going to have stunted revenues, again, because of these same things. And then potentially high employee turnovers, where in the alternative, right, we can now create value and create even more value for our communities because we now have a well-oiled machine. We can increase our revenues. We have better data to make better decisions financially and otherwise. And ultimately, it gives us the opportunity to stay ready so we don't have to get ready. So that's my little spiel, the 4 moves that I feel like every single business owner needs to make in this time to prepare for a recession and for life.
Thank you, Lauren. I was over here taking notes. I said, sis came with her preacher notes today. They always got 3 or 4 things, girl, that they gonna focus on. But no, that was really good. Especially that monitoring performance, because I found that I've just like hired contractors or employees because I need this thing done, but then I'm not going back to see, okay, is this thing actually getting done? You know, is it making money? Basically, you know, I wrote a comment: if it don't make money, it don't make sense. So at the end of the day, if we're not getting our bills paid and making a profit, then I need to go back to the drawing board. So I really love that. I also love how you mentioned also the quality of life. That's also a measure of performance. So maybe it's not necessarily translating into money like a direct correlation, but maybe I'm getting more sleep, right? And that will translate into money down the line because I can focus better, you know, but it might not be a direct correlation that I could look at the dollars. Like I got more sleep, so I made, you know, $100 more that day, but I feel better. And I know if I feel better, then I perform better. So I think that's so important as well, because some things I have in place just so I don't have it in my mind. Like you said, being the own cog in your wheel, you know, it's just some things I just don't want on my mind. And that just clears up a lot of stress and mental space. So those people are also important who can just clear that space out for you. Like for me, one of those people is a chiropractor. You know, and I know I can't put him on my payroll, but I'm like, I need to go like for me. You know what I mean? That he's a KPI for me. Because it keeps me comfortable. Like I sit in the chair all day, it just really keeps me comfortable if I can go there regularly. So thank you for sharing those things, Lauren. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Kenesha.
All right. Well, I was actually taking notes too, because Lauren came perhaps with a whole sermon and everything. So I just had a couple of things and I took a couple of notes, just here for things that I have for you guys. So of course, mine's going to come from like a straight kind of like money standpoint, right? Like planning is my thing. So, my first thing that I would say is have a financial planner. I mean, I don't care if it's for your own, even as a business owner, you need to have one specifically for yourself with your own personal finances, right? Lauren and I have these conversations all the time, especially when we're talking about mixing your personal and your business, finances and stuff like that. So we got to make sure that we've got protections and stuff like that in place, that we're preparing for times like these, so that we can make sure we're making the smart moves, not only for your business, but for you as the owner and your own personal finances. So that's going to be my very first thing, is actually have a financial planner. I tell people all the time, I'm the one that's going to, like, your human calculator. Like, you come to me like, can I afford this? Well, I don't know. It may be outside of your budget, or I think we could try to fit that piece of marketing in, so it literally comes down to everything. Like, let me be that, oh, no, me, well, shameless to say me, but let your financial planner, be the same thing as far as your business plan. So that's going to be one of my very first things, and I've said this time and time again, if you've ever heard me speak, if you've, gone to any type of webinar that I've been on, if you've seen me live, one of my biggest things, I preach it all the time, is know your numbers. I don't care if it's from a personal finance standpoint or from a business. I think that there's a certain, what they say, ignorance is bliss. I am a very type A kind of person. So actually gray areas and ignorance will stress me out like no other, right? Some people just love, being like, oh, well, I'm just kind of floating. As a business owner, even if that's your own personal way you operate with your own personal finances, you really can't afford to operate that way when it comes to a business, especially if you have employees, right? Because there are other people that are relying on you and your sound business choices to make sure that, their personal finances are okay. So one of the very first things is know your numbers. Make sure, when you go to sit down with Lauren or your CPA or anything like that, that, QuickBooks are up to date, and, that where everything is sitting. I can't stress enough, planning, budgeting, know where your numbers are, know what your income is, what's going out, because the last thing you want to do is look up and be strapped for cash, from a business operating expense perspective, and we're just not quite sure like where everything else is coming from. So that needs to be balanced, and we need to properly prepare. So, I know we're kind of talking about it like, well, crap, like, what am I supposed to do if this is kind of right around the corner? Do I really have the time? If nothing else, you have the time to make sure that you know your numbers, get those books straight. I can't stress that enough, right? So that's my very first thing. Know your numbers. It is black and white when it comes to business. There is no gray area. Either we're good and we're in the green, or we're not. Okay. So know your numbers. That's my first thing. Second thing is, during these times, and I think both of these ladies have definitely gone in, like, you guys have definitely talked to them about, like, hey, check in with your people, make sure your people are happy. I can't express that enough, right? I think for those of you who do have business, and I talk to people about this all the time, if you have a business, everybody's either one, got a business partner, that, hey, we've got to make sure that you and I are okay, right? Like, even if it's just the two of you, or if there's multiple people working for your business, everybody know who those important ones are. Everybody knows that there's that one person in your business that you guys just wouldn't make it if it wasn't for her or for him. So, check in with people. This is where it comes in, where she was talking about, employee benefits. And I know it kind of seems like a counterproductive time, right? Like, okay, well, money's getting a little low, expenses are getting high, kind of strapped for cash. Like, I'm not quite sure if I can provide any more real kind of perks, for my employees. Well, the fact of the matter is you can't really afford not to have the employees, so I understand exactly where that's coming from, but you have to come up with something, right? So, whether it's sitting down and making sure that, hey, these people are still here. They're still comfortable with you working your business and knowing that they're taken care of. Do you guys have employee benefits in place, life insurances, things of that nature? I personally know several people, right, where maybe they didn't get a raise, right, but they didn't get a pay cut. They weren't handed a pink slip, or, they didn't lose out on their benefits, during COVID, they still had health insurance and stuff like that. So it wasn't worth it to them to leave, to go to a place where maybe that wasn't going to be there. So if there's anything that you can do to really kind of put in place, listen to your employees, right? Because for one, a lot of times, we hate to admit it, it's our baby and it's our business, but sometimes you're so busy up here that you're not exactly with boots on the ground, really kind of listening to the people that work with you and work for you. And even sometimes your patrons, your customers and your clients can give you really good feedback on if there's something in your business that they feel like is missing or something like that. So right now might be one of those times to really take a look at what you offer, and not just the client, but look at what you're offering your employees. So employee benefits is a really big thing. Talk to them. If it's one thing that I've found, it's been the complete honesty, right? There are some people who are used to getting, hey, every year, I can even say it, hey, every year we get a 2% raise and, we get a bonus. Be transparent. We couldn't do bonuses this year, right? But, instead of doing that, I will make sure that you continue to get a raise. Or the bonus is going to be, we can get it this year, but we might got to cut it for next year. I think a lot of people appreciate the honesty, and knowing, because then they can plan their expenses ahead of time, right? Like if you know that your employees, you don't know what they're doing with that money. So that may be the one thing that they put, hey, it's our family's vacation that I do with this bonus that I get every year. If they know they're not getting that, it might be a bummer, but at least they can kind of adjust their expectations accordingly. You know what I'm saying? So the first thing I would do is make sure you have employee benefits. I am somebody that you can talk to about that. So if you need to make sure to say, hey, we're still helping you contributing to your 401k, that is still there. We're not cutting your expenses. Your insurances are still there. Disability insurance is one thing that's really become a big thing with a lot of business owners, just because, hey, maybe you didn't have it before, but COVID, there was a lot of disability cases in that point where people just could not go to work for a certain period of time because they were sick or something like that. And so, needing that's, just the smallest of benefits, life insurance, because unfortunately, a lot of us lost a lot of, coworkers and colleagues, family members, over the last couple of years. So, things just happen. So you want to be prepared, check in with your coworkers and make sure that they feel provided for, so that when we come out of this, that working relationship is, stronger than ever. So that's my second thing. Just check in with your people, man. Make sure your people are good. The third part is, this is going to be a little bit more, these next two things are just when it comes to finances. And these are just some little gems that I definitely make sure that people have in place. This is more so about functional, like financial pieces. So the first one is when we're talking about debts, right? So everybody hears it all the time. We're talking about, what's your business credit like? Some people have to have lines of credit, maybe maybe you are leasing the place that you're, maybe you got a mortgage on the building that you're working out of, whatever it may be. Debts are still debts, right? Maybe if it's, products and, you're paying back for the products that you've purchased from a manufacturer and you haven't sold them, and you're still in the red when it comes to that. Paying off debts, right? So think about in times of interest rates and things of that nature. There's a reason why people have been refinancing, mortgages. There's why people have been reconsolidating student loans and things of that nature. This is one of those times where if you've got a lot of, random business debt or even personal debt, like we're it's across the board. Right now is not the time to have a bunch of different random outstanding debts all over the place, right? Because if business owner, if income is funny, if it's not, a consistent, set amount of money that you're used to seeing, you don't want to run the risk of either ruining your business or your personal credit by not being able to pay your debts. That's just how that goes. Credit is kind of funny. It really is the measurement of how you handle debt, if you think about it, so, you can barely move up 5 points from making your on-time payments for 2 years. But the moment that you're 30 days behind, boom, it smacks you down 30 points, right? So it's really about how do you manage debt? Like what's your outstanding, like your amount of credit, or, that kind of stuff. So it's really about how you manage your debt. Now is a really good time to take a look at things, consolidate things down. If you've got a bunch of things somewhere, lock something in, pay off a bunch of stuff, get it down to a small monthly payment that you can manage, from your business perspective. That's a good time for that, right? So this is where we, start looking at. So getting debt under control, whether it's personal or business debt, this is a wonderful time to redo that, because now more than ever, if income is low and interest rates are at something that you can find a little bit more manageable, this is a really good time to get a monthly payment that you can manage, and even that's from a business or a personal perspective. So that's one thing. That's just a kind of like a foundational type thing to look into. And the next one is, of course, the financial planner is going to come in and say this, but cut costs, budget and cut costs. Yes, I'm the one that's going to come in and slap everybody's hand. Budget and cut costs. Okay. If you didn't have an emergency savings, well, now you're living off of that, and this is what you got. Okay. Start putting money to the side as much as you can, but also realize that cut the costs. Long-term contracts for some of you business people, if you've got these, long withstanding things that you do, and maybe it's time to switch to a pay-as-you-go type of contract, so that you're not, if you're not selling as many, I'm just going to throw something out there. If you're usually ordering 100 shirts, every month, and if you're not selling that many, well, maybe it's time to say, hey, let's come off of the recurring payment, and maybe I need to go with something month to month that will more match my sales and my output, things of that nature. This is just one of those things where we got to trim the fat, right? Because honestly, I hate to, numbers don't lie. Either you're making the sales or you're not. Either your business is thriving, either you're in the green or you're not, right? So if that is the case, learn to get frugal, learn to think about different ways. Again, this is where sometimes your employees can help. Sometimes you have no idea. It's like, I don't even know why we buy this stuff. Nobody even takes these bags from us. Souvenirs and stuff, marketing, maybe switch to something that's organic, organic marketings. Try to learn a couple of things that maybe you could do on your own. Is a difference, I think, between what Lauren was talking about and, trying to wear too many hats to the point where, you're kind of bottlenecking yourself, right? Versus, is there really, even within our own personal finances, there are things that we pay for as a luxury because at the time we can afford them and everything is great. But sweetheart, if right now you don't have nail salon money, then you're just going to have to pull out that old school nail polish, right? So like, there's just something, okay, thank you. $8 manicure from Walgreens. Let me be transparent. So all I'm saying is if there is some kind of way for you to still thrive, either personally or business-wise, do that. There is no shame. Look around us. Nobody, you've got the super rich and we're not talking about them. Okay. But if you look around with everybody else, everybody is trying to figure out, okay, how can I make the best of the situation? I don't want to, compromise my quality of life. I don't want to compromise the quality of services that I offer my customers either. So I'm not telling you to go out and, if I'm just keep using shirts, because that's just right at the front of my mind, but I'm not telling you to go off and go buy the cheapest material shirt, keep the quality of your products, right? But maybe we don't buy 100 of them this time, because are your customers buying 100 shirts right now? Are they being a little tighter with money? Business owners have to think about that, right? So I don't want you guys to be the next economics market leaders, but my last one was pay attention to the news. Right now, this is the time that even if this wasn't your forte, even if you have a financial planner, even if you have a CPA, this is not the time to not be looking at CNBC, MSNBC, any of this other kind of stuff. Pay attention to things, right? Learn the difference between inflation, right? And things of that nature. What does that mean? Are people spending or are they not? Your business is not exempt. It's not, and it's just, you have to kind of be cognizant of what's going on in the world around us, so pay attention, ask, right? You've got Kiana that's here, from the legal things change on a regular basis. Now is a perfect time to take, look at your structure. Lauren can tell you, from a tax perspective, do we have enough? If we talk about personal things, should you be putting enough in the Roth, this time, or should you keep more into the traditional, that kind of thing. Everything it's constantly changing. Laws are changing, as we can see all around us. That's why you have, Kiana to check in and make sure that everything that you have is still working for you and the structure of your business. And then from a tax perspective, reach out to Lauren and make sure that if there's adjustments that you need to make, if there's massive financial decisions that you need, what is that going to cost me? So check in with your people around you. Keep yourself educated. Right now is not really the time to bury your head in the sand. Be cognizant of what's going on around you. So that's my last final one. So know your numbers. Check in with your people. Okay. Let's look at those debts. See if we can get some of that stuff structured around. Now is a great time to make sure that your expenses are manageable. Cut the costs where you can without compromising quality. And 6, pay attention and, keep educated on everything that's going on around you so you're not caught off guard, which takes you all the way back to know your numbers. So it all wraps up into one. And I hope I've made some sense. And I am super happy to talk to anybody that needs it. All 3 of us are. We are a powerhouse here of knowledge and, ways that we can assist you from a business perspective. So, let's make sure that you're on track. And that's all I got, guys.
That was awesome. I was definitely taking notes as well. It looked like Kiana froze, but
Oh yeah.
So no, I want to actually ask a follow-up question based on what you said. So unfortunately, I need to do better at it, but I am not the best in terms of always keeping up with the news outlets. I read the Wall Street Journal probably like once a week, just to kind of get some things. But what would you recommend for people who are not necessarily in the space, not necessarily financially savvy? Where would you recommend that they look to start getting educated on the market so that they understand kind of what's going on?
Oof. Those are, I'm not going to lie. I actually don't get a whole lot into, I'm a straight news kind of girl. And that's specifically because, okay, this is going to sound kind of political, but just go with me here. When it comes to money, money is money. Right? So there is no opinions more so when it comes to these types of things. Either we're in a recession or we're not. The GDP report is what it is. The jobs reports are what they are. So really, honestly, I am on a lot of MSNBC. I am on a lot of, those types of shows, Bloomberg. You'll have to find, I feel like some of those people that really kind of speak to you. I like the small stuff, right? So there is a couple of podcasts that I actually listen to in the mornings that just, the simple stuff. And it just makes sure that Wall Street Breakfast is something you can find on a podcast. It's super short. It's just like little shorts. There is a newsletter that I subscribe to. It's super short. They send you an email every single day. And some people are like, I don't want that every day. I kid you not, you can read it in like 5 minutes. It's just to kind of keep you abreast of what's going on. And it's called The Morning Brew. I really appreciate that because it's not so stuffy. It's really just something, hey, in the morning, pop it open, gives you a very quick snippet of what the markets look like. If there's anything specific as far as like reports that are coming out that you need to know something about, that's always really good. There's quite a few. But for me, like I said, personally, those are a couple of things that I really like to look at. Like I said, I like the Wall Street Breakfast again because it's short. The Wall Street Breakfast, the Morning Brew, and then for me, it's just straight up get on the news. It just stay informed. Do you know what I mean? If reports are coming out, Yahoo Finance is also a really good resource. You can see a lot of stuff just right there from the landing page. And I would honestly recommend a couple of them. They're always going to talk about finance because that's at the forefront of everything right now. So I don't really care where you turn on, you're going to find whatever it is that you want to see. And then, like I said, if all else fails, follow a couple of Twitter accounts, things of that nature. So I should probably list a couple things. I should have formulated a list, Lauren. I'm sorry. I didn't think about it, but I get most of the stuff just sent to my email, but Wall Street Journal has a small one, that sends I'm a big blog kind of person and just podcast. I need it short. I need it simple. Give me 5 minutes while I'm brushing my teeth. Like, what happened to the market today? What was that report? So, and they'll explain it. They'll make it easy. So those are just a couple of the simple, small ones, because again, if y'all had to know everything, there'd be no use for me, Kiana, or Lauren, you know? So I'm not saying that, you know, you have to know everything, but just get you something just a little bit every day just to keep yourself informed. Add that to your morning devotional.
Yes, and if I could add a resource, thank you for having. By the way, my computer turned off. But Earn Your Leisure, I want to say, I think they come on either Monday nights or Tuesday nights. I haven't watched them in a while because I've had other things going on. But it's a group of 3 Black men who teach on the stock market, not just stocks, but investments, like all things finance. And their show comes on YouTube. And it's Earn Your Leisure, so EYL. And the thing I like about them is that they also infuse culture. So the topics are always like super relatable. The people that they have on are always super relatable. Usually Black and brown people. So I also like that because a lot of times we watch the news or we listen to the podcast and it's not people who look like us. And so sometimes it can just seem like, is this attainable for us? And we know that it is, but it's just reassuring to see people who look like us actually engaging in those type of conversations. So I really like them. And I also wanted to add something.
My not even watching this.
Okay, you can turn it off. Close the door, please. To something that Kanisha said earlier about mixing personal and business money, and that I can also imagine that may go up during the recession. And so you're trying to pay this bill, you're trying to pay that bill, and you're just trying to pay with whatever account has money. Well, you have to be careful with that legally, because if you are using business money for personal things, you could be piercing the corporate veil. And that means that if you ever have to go to court and the judge decides that that corporate veil has been pierced, then you are treated the same. You and your business are treated as one and the same. And so you're opening yourself up to a lot of potential personal liability if you do not keep that corporate veil in place. So keeping your money separate is one of the ways to keep that veil in place. Following up with the legal compliance every year, the things you have to do for your business, following tax compliance. These are all things that's going to keep that corporate veil in place. So although it may feel natural or easy to just pay things, as they come up, you definitely want to be careful, and you definitely want to keep up, like I said, with your legal and tax compliance. It may seem like, well, I can skip on my attorney a little bit or skip on my CPA a little bit. That's not that you want to trim unless, and I'm not just saying because I'm an attorney. I mean, really, honestly, an attorney, you probably could, depending on what kind of support you need. But CPA, I don't know how you would trim that fat unless you're going to keep up with your own books. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm able to do that. But if you are, then I guess you can trim it. But, I definitely think a CPA is probably unavoidable. An attorney, it depends. But definitely keep up with your tax and your legal compliance.
And I just want to piggyback off that really quickly because, full transparency, I had a conversation with Kanisha today about my own personal financial plan. Why? Because that's super important. And so even if you feel like you do not have the resources right now to have a financial planner, you do. Go ahead and talk to her and get yourself together because it's so important. I think one of the things that she mentioned and we discussed was life insurance. So I'm a young woman. I don't have any children. I'm married, but it's just me and my husband. But now is the time to think about future planning because God forbid something does happen. Funerals are expensive. Medical bills are expensive. And so if we do not have a plan in place to prepare for that long term, I think that you'll really suffer. So it's better just to have the conversation now. You don't have to talk to her all the time. Maybe you want to avoid her more than once a year. She won't appreciate it. But at the very minimum, talk to her, get a plan in place, work the plan, and revisit as your situation changes.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to piggyback off of that. Your financial plan or your personal financial plan, like you never arrive. Look, and thank God, right? Because we don't stay at the same salary, we don't stay at the same family size. But it's one of those things, you never arrive. You're always, God willing, making more money or adding to your family or adding businesses or consolidating or something like that, adding homes, taking homes away. And so your personal planner is kind of like, I think, Kanisha, you say like your general physician, like you go see them every year, you know, for
Primary care physician.
you go see them every year or once a quarter, depending on what's going on. If you got a serious health condition, maybe you have to go more often. Just like if you're an investor and you have 5-6 properties, then maybe you need to see, a personal planner more often. So depending on your situation, but you definitely should go. Like it's not a matter of if, it's just when.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much. Like I really what we do as far as planning is concerned, it taps so many different things as far as business planning is, but like the foundations have to be set right to even plan around it. Like I can't even tell you putting stuff in place, as far as, there's even exit strategies, right? Like you don't plan to be working forever. What happens to the business when you're gone? Or what happens to the business if, something's different with, it's a recession, or we're, still in a pandemic or whatever that may be. And your business partner wants out, like what happens with that, so there's so many different things that even though you may be in a great space, you just want to make sure you plan, right? So that's where, the structuring of everything and the agreement, stuff like that with Kiana come into place. That's when like the policies to kind of back that up with me, that's where that comes into place. And then you got to make sure that, the whole tax structure of everything, you need the whole thing, right? So honestly, if nothing else, if you don't feel like you're ready to go into it, let's just make sure that you're prepared when you come out of it, right? A lot of people were kind of worried, like, oh crap, I didn't save enough, or I haven't quite done enough, or we're here now and maybe I don't have enough time. Let's just make sure that between the three of us, we get you so that you're making smart decisions while we're going through it. Though that way we're just not that much more worse off when we come out of it. Maybe we couldn't do offense, but we can definitely play defense, and then you do offense going forward so we don't have any of those problems. I was literally just talking to a client and she's like, man, I should have came to you before I owed the IRS. And I was like, well, tell you what, we're just gonna, I'm just gonna add that payment in that you owe the IRS into your monthly budget, and we're gonna go forward to make sure that we don't have this issue next year, right? So all is never lost. Like I even if it's from a personal finance perspective, it's like I don't have much money to put towards, paying down my debt and stuff like that. $50 a month extra on a debt is still going to help you come out and save you a lot of interest in the long run. So all is not lost. There's always a way to salvage something. And then, we don't talk about this because we don't want to speak that. But in the unfortunate circumstance, it's like, hey, my business didn't survive this. Or, I'm actually, maybe I thought this was a great idea and maybe that's not my ministry and I'm going to find something else. At least let us make the decision so that legally, financially, and honestly, trust, I think these other two ladies can tell you sometimes it's spiritually, emotionally services we have to offer to some people sometimes just to kind of help get them through because finance is so personal. But just let us make sure that whatever it is, decisions that you make, whether it's going forward, whether it's, preparing for whatever it might be, that at least you're prepared and you're doing it the right way. So nobody is, too terribly scathed. So let's just get everything in place, guys, just to make sure that when we come out of this recession and we're back flourishing again and the stock market is, wonderful and everybody's spinning bread, like whatever, that we're all in a good place and that we're prepared. So yeah, I would love to, have all of us work with you for anybody that needs it. And I will shamelessly say, yes, you need it. You do. So hope to talk to more of you.
Yes, thank you. And I want to open the floor up for questions. So I'll give people a few seconds to kind of type any questions. I hope I can navigate from this screen to Facebook on my phone without me disappearing, but just in case y'all on Facebook somewhere. But I also wanted to add that I dropped a link to our landing page. If you guys would like to sign up for a free consultation, Now, this does just go to my page in terms of the consultation, but I will definitely let Lauren and or Kenesha know that you're interested in their services. So just indicate on the form, you know, who you're interested in, but just out of ease, it was just easier for me just to link one person on there. So let me go to Facebook real fast and see if I see any questions.
I don't see any questions.
I was just scrolling through. I don't see
Okay.
any either. So I guess this is it. Anybody have any last thoughts?
The only thing that I want to say is that this is definitely not the last time that you will see the three of us together. We'll continue to put together events and workshops like this. And if at some point in the future you think an in-person workshop is something that you would be of interest to you all, please let us know. We ultimately, this is for us to have an opportunity to serve you, and so however we can do that, let us know.
Wonderful. Thank you for saying that, Lauren, because that reminded me that I have a workshop coming up. It's actually a boot camp, and it's called Back to the Basics. And we're going to be learning about identity. It's 3 I's. Identity, 2 other I's that I can't think of right now. But basically, the workshop is about getting back to the basics of entrepreneurship through the lens of God's word. And so I know a lot of things get thrown at us as business owners, funnels and marketing and social media and being authentic and all these different things that we're told that we have to do. And those things have their purpose. But I believe that as kingdom entrepreneurs, if you consider yourself a kingdom entrepreneur, it's important for us to get back to the basics. So identity, how are we showing up? Are we showing up as ourselves or are we showing up as our imposter? Integrity, that's one of the other I's. Keeping our word, doing what we say we're going to do, delivering on our commitments, on time and every time. We're also going to talk about implementation. So not just strategy all day, but actually taking the time to implement the things that we talked about. So it's going to be 2 days, and it's going to be held at the Georgia State College of Law. So I'm super excited. That's my alma mater. Also, Lauren will be there teaching on faith and finances. And if you didn't know, she is brilliant. And she's written a book that I'm not going to put her on blast about. But I hope she can give us like a mini thesis from the book in the lesson. Because her whole just philosophy, I just know it just comes straight from the Lord. And so we need that wisdom in our business. But my passion is to really see kingdom entrepreneurs thrive in business and thrive spiritually. You know, I want to see your soul prosper. I want to see your business prosper as well. And so it's my vision that we will go in there and learn practical things, but also that we would learn how to implement the word of God and really pray our way through in business. Because if it wasn't for prayer, listen, this shingle would have been out this door a long time ago. So if you're interested in the boot camp, definitely let me know. Feel free to set up a consultation and I can tell you more about it. I'll also be marketing on social media, so you'll see it there as well. But thank you all for coming, for viewing. If you catch the replay, thank you for watching. We hope that you found it beneficial. And like Lauren and Kenesha both said, this is just the first of many. Like, I'm really excited. I think we had, great energy and a great flow between the three of us. And so I'm excited to see what we can do in the future. All right. Well, with that, I'll end it. Have a good night, ladies.
Good night. Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.